Life's best moments are best captured by photography and video. You may ask, why photography and video? Because if a photo is worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. And GPS photography and video will leave you speechless. GPS specializes in weddings, swords, fitness, and so much more. Book your next shoot today at 910-257-0526 or gpsphotoandvideo.com.
Welcome to the Amazon's podcast. I'm Glenn Young, owner of Amazon's fitness magazine, Celebrate the Female Physique. Subscribe to amazonsfitmag.com. The podcast is brought to you by Maximus Posing Suits. Let your inner warrior shine. Custom competition suits for victory on every stage. MaximusPosingSuits.com. And of course, GPS photography and video. Why photography and video? Because if a photo's worth 1,000 words, video is worth 1,000,000. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest needs no introduction, but she's going to get one anyway. When I first met her, she was just a 2-time Olympian, no big deal. I had the honor and privilege of being her photographer for nearly 2 years. I credit everything that I know in reference to women's bodybuilding and especially the women's physique division to her. Without her, I don't know who Danny Reardon is, Brooke Walker, Daniela Castello, Heather Grace, Katie Lee, none of them. And I watched her compete on stage with many of those individuals. Some memorable moments from being at the Arnold's and waiting on her to come downstairs for the Meet the Pros night, and then only to find out that the women's physique was in the competitors meeting and they would not be in attendance. Another Arnold's moment was when they messed up her music during her routine. Go on YouTube, Google it, you'll see it. And of course, one of the biggest moments that I was able to witness as I was there with her throughout her prep and throughout many of her shows, I was thankful, was her total dominance at the Charlotte Europa. And by the way, she is the reigning women's physique champion of that event. So if they ever bring back the Charlotte Pro or women's physique to the Charlotte Pro, just saying, hint, hint, wink, wink. We'll have a defending champ to come in. She is a graduate of Hope County High School right here in Rayford, North Carolina. She was a cheerleader, track athlete. My son actually went to high school with her. Ladies and gentlemen, now 5-time, AKA She-Rock, the Women's Physique Pro Champion of the New York Pro. Ladies and gentlemen, Sheronica Henton, 5 times. Thanks for joining me. How are you doing? It's been 4 days. What have you reflected on so far?
It's been 4 days of realizing that I am the Queen of New York. But seriously, I did this show a couple years ago and I got second. And then after that, I decided to, put it down for a little bit and get my business together, and my fans, friends, and family all have convinced me to come back into this wonderful world of bodybuilding and attempt reaching my goals again, and that is trying to get that Miss Olympia title.
Well, you're back. Oh. And bottom line, either they didn't know, didn't do the research, or just didn't care, but had they Googled just a little bit, they would have seen that you were a 4-time Olympian coming into this show. A lot has changed since the days of Juliana Malakari's dominance, Dana Lynn Bailey. Juliana Malakari hit 4. Do you see anyone out there that's going to get more than 4? Because it seems like 4 and then done. Now we got, obviously those getting close, Natalia Coelho, and then of course the reigning champion. You know, um, what's your thoughts?
That's a
Ah,
deep question. you
uh,
know, um, our division has had a lot of different types of physiques as Miss Olympia. But I feel like because our category is women, it is harder to hold that goal for more than 4, maybe 3 to 4 years, just because it requires a lot of conditioning coming into Olympia as a women's physique pro.
mhm.
And to do that year after year after year is wear and tear on the body. Um, but then you have competitors like Linda Murray and Iris Kyle who have been able to stretch out those reigns.
Yes.
And if they
Mhm.
can do it, then it can be done. I'm just saying.
I'm saying as well. So the biggest thing or the hot topic or deja vu from last year, women's bodybuilding not showing up at shows, not enough shows for women's bodybuilding. And then no point system. So that was different. First time you qualifying for the Olympia and there was no point system. 5 at St. Louis Pro, 3 women's physique at Pittsburgh Pro, 9 at the New York Pro. And then, of course, the promoter of the St. Louis Pro said he would no longer have women's physique at the St. Louis Pro, and depending on how it goes at Omaha. Um, give me your feedback. Give me your thoughts.
I will
You
tell
seeing
you
it
how
from
I
the beginning.
feel. I will tell you about how I feel about that. I feel like when it comes to athletes in general, and not just women's physique, but athletes in general, I feel like will show up to your shows when it's promoted correctly.
Okay.
Um, so for them to pull us out, because the numbers are low when it's this early in the season, you know, um, and the numbers haven't just been low this year. It's that
Yeah.
St. Louis Pro has never had large numbers at its show for women's physique. I've
That's
done
right.
that
Because in the
show
middle of the
maybe
states.
two, I think 2 times in the past.
Right.
Um, when back in the past when I did used to compete, the numbers were 20 women here, 28 women.
I got you. Up. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Hang on, ladies and gentlemen. I can't hear you. Mm, no, still can't hear you. She should come back on, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give it a minute.
Am I back?
You back. Got you.
Okay.
All right, so let's
Am
roll
I back?
back to we are talking about the numbers at the shows. And we're talking
Um,
about the St. Louis Pro.
yeah, but I think because there is now no point system, pros have to be very strategic about the shows that they choose, and
Right.
it's expensive to do this sport. And so if I know I have a chance at this show, and this show, I'm gonna only choose these shows.
Right.
Does that make sense? We have to be very strategic about it. It's not that ladies probably don't want to compete. It's still early in the season. We only have so many shows, but I do remember last year Daytona Pro having almost 20 over 20 women in their open category.
Right.
So again, it goes back to promotion,
Mhm.
and what point of the season we're in.
So I mean, it takes time. A typical prep, 16 weeks for women's physique. 20. What's your longest prep you've been on?
Um, 16,
Okay.
16 to 20 weeks. Right now we're sitting at, I think, 20 weeks out from Olympia.
Right.
So that gives me a lot of time to, you know, fix corrections, put on a little
Mhm.
more, just come in a whole lot better.
Right.
We will probably have a little detour in
I
between.
got you. Okay. So when you look at it, okay, prize money would help people come out. Another thing that came out, Natalia Coelho didn't do Pittsburgh, didn't do New York. Maybe they were scared. Maybe there was a fear of competing because they can't beat her. But then at the same time, as you said, promotion, and then it's in the middle of the country. But there's a year notice, right, when these shows come out. We know that the Pittsburgh's going to be in May, New York's when it is. And as you said, do you think it's just too early for women's physique? And I understand the strategic part of it as
I
well.
think it's early. Like I said, I think it's early. I've also um, I chose New York because monetary went up from 2,500 to five.
There you go. Prize money.
Uh,
Ding, ding, ding. You got
I 2,500 to five. So if
yes.
I'm gonna put 5K into it, I want to get that 5K back.
Yeah. And I definitely
You
think
know
with the rise of prize money, that's going to bring
that
more
will bring
competitors
out
out.
more competitors. When
Right.
I met up with my coach, we were originally not going to complete until one complete year of being in prep together.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually competed earlier than that point,
Got you.
way
And of
earlier.
course, the reigning women's physique champion, Sarah Vegas, who's also a promoter, promoting
Yes.
the sport. She's got that big Texas Pro coming up. And of course, the Atlanta Pro, Linda Murray. And I know that you always told me, said, Glenn, never ask a competitor what show they're doing. But I'm going to ask you. There's a lot of them that are very appealing out there for sure. Give me your take. Will you do one more? Will you set? Will you relax? And full disclosure, in the past, once you qualified for the Olympia, I don't think you've ever done another show. Is that true?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, so anyway,
But that, I mean, put it this way: I've been away for a long time, and I
all
miss
right.
it. And
Miss you too. Everybody missed you. Mm.
um, but I'm letting God lead the way.
All right.
Let's put
I'll
it
leave
that
that one
way.
alone. So when you look at the women's physique division, like I said, there were 9 at New York. And then, of course, somebody you know is going to go back and start looking at the Olympia last year, and then all those that are currently qualified in the women's physique division. And looking at New York, I got to say, it seemed like you were a women's physique on stage with women's bodybuilders. And I think a message that was sent when you won, hey, and in watching the interview with Bob Chick after, and hearing also what Chris Comier said, that Sarah Villegas, he was sitting behind her. I mean, what's your take? Because I think there's a lot of people out there saying, oh shit, look what they just did. I'm halfway through my prep. They said do this and what they rewarded. And now Sheronica Henton goes out there. I'm just saying. I mean, a photo's worth 1,000 words and video's worth 1,000,000.
Um, you got me with that question.
Yeah.
All right.
But
I've been getting a lot of love since I won.
mm-hmm.
No negativity. and I appreciate that.
Right.
But people are actually excited and happy. I, for a long time before coming, was contemplating moving down to figures.
Really?
Yes.
Whoa.
Because I didn't feel like I was going to be or be able to put on size
Mm,
in enough time
right.
for my category, for my division. But you know what? I'm a physique pro at heart. That's what I like to
Always,
perform
yeah,
as.
always were.
That's what
Hmm.
I got my pro card as. And that's what I feel I am. So if you're comfortable as an athlete in one division, and if you really truly feel like that's your division and that's where your body belongs, then you continue to work for yourself in that division. That division.
Hmm.
I feel like I still need a little bit more size in certain areas to
Hmm.
be able to defend for a title. But I already know I have a plan. We got a plan. I
I
said I
got you.
started this over the summer.
In what areas would you like to improve, or you think you need to improve?
um, I want more, a little bit more size in my quads. And quads, a little bit more detail in my hamstrings, and we want more depth and detail in my back.
Okay.
So,
Your business, theprofitposing.com. And your clients read like a who's who in women's bodybuilding with Sherry Priami, Michaela Acock, Cheryl Mears, who will be on the podcast next week, Rashana Boswell, of course. That's another one. I don't know who Rashana Boswell is without you. And one time she was women's physique. I mean, how are you going to manage this? Because this year you preparing for the biggest show. They are obviously going to be preparing for the biggest show. How are you going to measure that? I mean, how are you going to manage that? Because you're like, I'm sorry, I got to go work on mine. I'm going to the Olympia too, girl. I mean, hey, how does that
um,
play out?
yeah, it's funny because when I first came off stage for the first interview, he was like, "Oh my God, your posing, your presentation was so great."
Yeah,
And I was like, "Yeah, I have a posing business." He was like, "Oh, I didn't know you have a posing school."
yeah.
I was like, "That's so funny." And the same thing with Chris Cormier. He said the same thing. I was like, "Yeah, I actually have a posing business," but um, I'm already like, I'm, I'm already back at work. So
Good
it's
stuff.
what keeps me thriving and then it keeps me busy and actually helps prep become very easily because now I got to really tailor into the meal planning and the whole planning of training. So I feel like my schedule has to be more like set,
Mm-hmm.
which helps me be more successful. Managing it, I won't be as I know because each year I get busier and busier, but I've already forewarned people if they're not on that schedule by a certain
Mm-hmm.
time, then I can't take any more until a certain time. It's been interesting. It's been
So, are you
interesting.
going to take on any new clients, or like it's 20 weeks out from the Olympia? See me next
I've
year.
already like blocked off the month of October, so
Okay.
I pre like I said, I pre-planned for this.
And you always work from the positive. Another
Yes,
thing, you work with Protan, who has
yes,
sponsored you as well. And last year you were doing the tanning. So
yes,
obviously that gave you a big advantage because you gave you a lot of time to scout. Yes.
yes.
So you saw who was coming, who was going on stage, and then you have a
For two
opposing
years
business.
we did that.
Yeah,
Yep.
2 years, and an opposing business that really makes you really polished when you look at it. And of course, all your experience, environment, and learning. Um, I'm excited. Um, Everybody else should be too. And I think there's a collective sigh. I think the next show will tell us a lot about women's physique and which way they're going. But I mean, the word is out because when you go on that Olympia stage, if you got 20 weeks, that's a lot of time. I mean, It just
Yeah,
is
and
what it
and
is. We can see how it
I
works
feel
out.
like I was only at about, like, my coach was like, "Oh, we were at 95%," and I was like, "I
Hmm.
feel like we were at like 80%." So, but
Yeah.
um, I know I can come in tighter. The hardest thing with me is keeping me full. You know,
Hmm.
um, actually, he tried to keep me full the whole prep, so we didn't have that issue when it came to peak
Right.
week. Trying to keep me full and not going on stage flat. I'm still learning. I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still learning about my body and how it works and how it's
Hmm.
supposed to work during that week before you get on stage. And I've never had anybody as tailored as Ryan to pull me into that. So I feel
Right.
like we're gonna have a good year.
Very attentive. How did you end up picking him as your coach?
I actually met him. So I worked with his wife with Protan,
Okay.
and she sent him to me for posing.
Really?
And I,
Okay.
I worked with him for 8 weeks, and I
Work.
inquired
So you
and
posed
and worked
him.
his mind
Right.
and picked his brain. And I actually was, gonna go with either him or Ben Chow out in Texas. Um, but we went with Ryan, and he's doing a pretty good job. And he's
I would
also
say so.
local, and I've never had a local coach too, so I guess that has a lot to do
That's
with it too.
that's important too.
Um, but like I said, he did a really good job. And then having my girl Christian on my team,
Yes.
she's there as my backbone every step of
How's
the
she doing?
way. She's doing great. She's doing
How's the
great.
dog?
The dogs are great. Everybody's great. I got three now.
Yeah. So you kept two from the litter?
From the last litter, we kept one,
Right.
and
Okay.
then um, my oldest mom had a litter, and we kept one from that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, people. I'm a dog lover.
So many areas.
Yes.
Well-rounded persons. So
Um.
go ahead.
No, you're good.
Okay. So you missed North Carolina? I gotta give you a lot. You went down there, you handled it, you blew up, you're doing well, and glad to see that. You know, and it's only gonna get better because when you're now a five-time Olympian, it's just gonna increase your business flow and your clientele, and it's really now a thing of trying to manage all this. So,
That
all
part.
right, so I gotta ask, Rashana Boswell, Sherry Priyami, who is the hardest to pose and why?
uh, so Rashana's one of my newer clients. I've been working
Right,
with her for the last year. And honestly, working with the both of them, they both listen. They're great. They're both like really. Rashana knows nail imposing is like number one. So
right,
she's willing to practice and do everything I tell her to do to get better. And then with Sherry, it's easy to pose her because we've been posing since before she turned pro.
okay,
I think. I think it's or right as she got her pro card, but when she was women's physique.
hmm.
Um, so we've been working together for a long time, quite a long time. So it's
What's your
easier with
favorite?
her.
What's your favorite division to work with? And do you like men
Um,
over women, women versus men, or just hey, a client's a client?
I mean, I like working with everybody.
Hmm.
There's no one specific division that I like over the other when it comes to me and my what I like to do is which is teach. I've been
Hmm.
doing it for a long time. I mean, I have a coaching minor, so like I wouldn't say coaching, but detailed teaching is something that I like to do.
Right.
Um, but again, that's I work with a good variety of different people. So I have
Yeah.
everyone from intermediate to pro to first timers. So I wouldn't say one division I like over the other.
Hmm.
Um, I just enjoy it all.
Right. And of course, you work out there and train out of TFX facility
Yeah,
there
so
in
I work
Orlando.
out. Do all my sessions out of TFX training facility on Coburg.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I also train out of there in LA Fitness. So I use two gyms. Um, but all my sessions are in like a little individual room, 1 hour sessions.
Right.
So if you pose with me, all your sessions are 60 minutes, including virtuals. Virtuals are anywhere from 50 to 60 minutes each.
What's the recommended number of sessions? Say you have someone that's getting ready for the Tampa Pro, for example.
Um, when it comes to posing, I say if you don't start posing and you come to me under 8 weeks out from a show, you're late.
Yeah. So,
To me, I if you're a beginner and you're a newbie or intermediate, I say you need at least 12 weeks,
right.
at least 12. Um, but if you kind of know what you're doing, 8 weeks or less, I mean, 8 weeks at least.
Mhm.
Um, when you're coming to me, I do have people who come a lot closer. But if you really want to tailor in your posing and your presentation to make that flawless, if you're under 8 weeks,
Right. When you look at it now and looking back to where you come to where you are now, what's your greatest memory?
when I came in, my first Olympia, I was up there with some greats.
Yeah.
Um, like a lot of the first 10 girls from the division. So
Hmm.
when Bob said, I was one of the ones that helped the division evolve, I never thought about it like that because it came in
But you did.
after the
Yeah.
division. Um, but I never, thought about me as an athlete in that way of me making the sport evolve. But I feel like I want to bring back a look that used to be acceptable. Um, but again, it's like we don't really know what is wanted
Yeah.
because there's so many different types of physiques in our division, or maybe I don't know. I could be the other people, but I think that Tyler is doing a good job with like all of his critique videos,
Hmm.
which kind of help us understand as athletes now what it is that they want from what they're
Right.
looking for. Because we didn't even get that in the past. We
Yeah.
go into these shows blindsided. Like there wasn't social media. What
No.
you know
Mm-mm.
what I mean? Like you show up, and you just perform. Um, but now with social media being big, and in the past I wouldn't even put up photos.
But now
Taking
you
photos,
coaching
but
people.
but now I post all the time. I post every week. But
Yeah.
again, I still think, we see these people post and post, but it's still not like seeing us on stage day in person.
No.
No.
And that's what people, a lot of social media warriors, they're basing their comparison on pictures they're seeing from the stage. You need to go to the show, sit behind the judges, pay for VIP. And one of your most famous poses that I always loved was your abdominals and thighs. And you had that women's physique hiss. And you can hear it very distinctly when you exhale and in all your muscle bellies. I mean, it's as great as the bikini pose. I'm telling you.
That's Christian's favorite pose too.
There you
That
go.
is that is my I feel like that is my worst pose.
No, that's really your trademark because you put those arms up and then you'll tick that waist from left to right. Yeah, it's unbeatable.
You
And
know,
then
I
you throw the
love
hands open. Yeah,
my favorite pose has always been my rear double bicep,
really.
which I feel like still can be improved. And I like my side tricep. Chest has been like I play with it a lot, try to
Hmm.
get different angles. My legs and my glutes are bigger. I can play with it in different angles now. Um, front ab and thigh. I've never been a favorite, but people like it.
I love it. Yeah, it's a great pose.
Oh, yeah.
All
Other
right.
than that,
So since Juliana Malakari to now Sarah Villegas, when you go into the Olympia, everybody's only aiming for one, the champ, and that's Sarah. What do you think it's going to take to beat her?
hard work, perseverance, determination,
Yeah.
and belief.
Yeah. Did she say anything to you?
Yeah, I love Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my dreams is to battle it out. You know, um, I got to be on stage with Juliana Marcart.
Yes.
Like in the top five with her before. That's
Yep.
a major accomplishment that I feel I've accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been in that top five, but I have not cracked that top three.
And you've been fifth at the Olympia before, but you come full circle, and everything happens in time,
Yes,
and that's the way you got to look at it.
I've
Natalia
learned.
Corhalo, it's something to see because, and then Brooke Walker and all. You've been on stage with some of the
With,
biggest names in women's physique, and people just like I said, they didn't do the research, and shame on them. So now here we go. I'm gonna let you out of here on this last question. Now that you won the New York Pro, you're on your way to the fifth Olympia, 5-time Olympian, and all those people that are wondering, those that are just starting out, that maybe before you won the show were thinking, you know what, I'm hanging up, I'm retiring. I don't know what they want on women's physique. You saw my interview with Jillian Ward. What's your message?
when it comes to this sport, I feel like us as pro athletes get so wrapped up in, you know, oh, I didn't win this show and I'm never going to be what they want. And, you know, when I remember when I said in the beginning, I had to step away to get my, my
Right.
business together, my mental together. Because if you're not at a point to where you can do a prep with no issues in the breeze, meaning like you don't have any stress going in, you don't
Right.
have any stresses throughout. And there will be those times where times are hard here and there, but when you can have a relaxed prep going into it, that's what matters. And we can only hope for the best when it comes to these shows. So you just got to show up and present. I know
Yeah.
I've been practicing and working my behind off every day since August.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, still running my daily life, running my business, working with Protein,
Yeah.
at the same time, trying to keep up with the division and seeing what they want. No, I just said that I was just going to train,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever we got on May 18th, that was what we had, and I stepped on that stage, and that was what we had.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing it with a lot more fun and passion because it's not like I don't feel the pressure of, oh, I don't know if I'm going to win this show, blah, blah. I just did it because I missed the stage.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly glad that you did. And I don't think it was nerves. You could maybe say show rust, but it is what it is. You here now. So I'm glad to see you back where you belong, back on
I'm
the
back.
Olympic stage. Hey,
And I
and go
think I'm
get a
back for quite a bit.
yeah,
Um, quite a bit. I won't go nowhere for a minute, y'all. I promise.
yeah, definitely. And you still young. I mean, the whole part about the muscle, I don't know what they were thinking. I was just looking at the comments and I'm like, ooh, wee. And finally, I just couldn't hold it no more. And I had to make the post. Hey, go do your research. So
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, do your research, people. Five
we'll leave
times.
we'll leave it there.
Five
5.
times.
Good talking with you. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you. Hang around for a second. I'm gonna do the closing and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Sheronica Henton, 5-time Olympian, the 60th this year. So it couldn't have been a bigger stage.
So
Every Olympia is huge, but this is back in Vegas,
it's the
60 years.
60th year.
So this is amazing. It's gonna be a great show. Women's physique, the women's bodybuilding. It's
Yes,
gonna be a great show.
both of our categories, I think, will be revived this year.
Definitely. Thanks for talking to me.
All right.
Coming up next, Ashley Jones, the second queen of New York, women's bodybuilding pro, Ashley Jones, and of course, Jessica Reyes Padilla. So make sure you hang around. Coming up at 8:30 p.m. Excited to talk to them. Excited to talk to Sheronica. And so we will see you at that time. If you have not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? I don't know what. I don't know what you're waiting on, but hey, you need to stick around so you see the latest and the greatest. I'm excited, and this is it. So 8:30 p.m. Tune in. Jessica Reyes Padilla, and of course, women's bodybuilding New York Pro champ Ashley Jones. Talk soon.